everyone, in this tutorial I'll show you how to make this 2D style animation audio reactive motion graphics. There's no movie files, just using images and using an LFO to switch between the images to give this animation boil. So let's start. Here you can see all the individual images that we'll be switching through. We'll create a new base comp. And I'll call it visuals. Go inside and we'll make movie file in tops. The movie file in tops will be for our flower. We'll have 5 of these, so they're individual frames of the flower blooming. And why we use tops images rather than a movie file, because it's better for optimization, and we can also control the frames better with a switch. So we can select all of them and then feed it to a switch. We'll put a null after a switch, and then see if you move the switch, you can make it bloom. Next we'll add the stem. Again, add a switch top, select them all, and feed into switch. We'll comp these with an over. We can use an over top and feed both of them into the over. Now you have the plant. And next we'll add the leaf and put a movie in top. And then another leaf, and one more. Add a switch top, feed all 3 of them in. So you switch this switch, you have it boil, get animation boil, and we'll add a null afterwards. Let's color these using a multiply top. Multiply. And then we'll get a constant top, make the resolution 1000 by 1000. You can do any color, but I'll do this blue color that I had. And feed it in. I'm going to copy and paste this. Then add a multiply top. And great. Now we'll add this onto a SOP. We'll do a rectangle SOP, feed it to a geometry comp. Then we'll add a constant material. You put material over object off and then blend common tab blending on, discard pixel base on, drag the null over, and then the material on the geometry. Same with this one, rectangle SOP. Good geometry comp. And then do a constant material. You'll do the same settings, common, blending on, pixels on, and then drag the null over and drag onto the geometry so it has the material. So we'll preview with the camera and then a render top. Change the resolution of the render top to 1000 by 1000. And then we can add a null after the render top and can name the null out. We'll turn on display flag. Let's add some background and put an over top after the render, and then a constant top. I'll do resolution 1000, and then color to this light yellow color. Feed it into over. Let's change some parameters. So the camera can make it -0.2, 0, and 0.5. So it's a bit closer. Geometry 1 to -0.4, -0.3, and -0.3. The second geometry will be -0.2, Y will be 0.2. We'll control the R later, and then the floating will do 70 for the Z. Great. Now we'll add an LFO to switch the leaf so it will seem like it's animating. So an LFO, change the frequency to 2. And we'll change the name to plant boil. We'll add a math after this. And we'll have it floor an integer and then -1 to 1 and have it to be 0 to 3. We'll add a merge because I'll add more channels, and then we can drag this to the switch, also the leaf one, and yeah, it works. You can increase the frequency to make the animation faster, but I'll keep it back to 2. Next, we'll add an LFO to have the plant float a bit to give it more life. So we'll add another LFO, change the frequency to 0.2. And then I'll add a map. I already know what I'm going to put in there, but you can play around with these. So I'll put -1 to 1 and -0.16 and -0.2. We'll add a lag. Then change the lag to 0 to 0.3 and add a rename. And we'll call this floating. Add it to the merge. And then we'll do one for the other because let's copy and paste this and make it 0 to 10. This one, we'll slow this lag to make it to 0.8 and rename this to plant rotate. And we'll feed it to the merge. And let's drag these parameters where we want. So in geometry 1, we'll put this into the rotate Z. So you can see how it's floating a bit now. And then for geometry 2, we'll put it into the Z, so it'll go forward and back. It's a little bit too much. Now let's see what's wrong here. It's -2, -0.2, not +0.2. Great. Next we can add some geometric shapes like these: polygon, triangle, circle. So we'll add a circle sop. I'll change the radius to 0.5, and then add a noise. Change the exponent to 0.5, and then we'll later control the amplitude with audio, but I can keep it to 1 for now. I'll add a geometry comp, and let's change the parameters once the comp. So we'll do 0.2, -0.5, and -1. That looks kind of weird. Let's play with the amplitude. And we'll add a constant material, And we'll change the material to this orange color. So R to be 0.9, 0.7, and 0.6, and drag the material onto the geometry. Next, we'll do a polygon. I'll just copy and paste a circle so the radius is 0.5 and change the division to 5. I'll feed this to a geometry comp. And I'll change the parameters to translate to -0.5, 0.5, and -0.7, and scale to half. Cool. Zero out the center. And then I'll add a constant material again. We'll change the R with the audio, so we'll just do the GB. So we'll have it to G to be 1 and B to 0.8. For first put 0.5 just for now. Add the material in. Like this to rotate, so for the Z, rotate Z, I'll make it to the expression abs time dot frame, slow it down times 0.2. Great. Next we will add a copy to the add a copy after the polygon. I'll make the copy 3, and for the Z, rotate abs time dot frame times 0.1. So it'll be rotating itself. We'll later control the rotate Y. Add a geometry after this. Then let's change some of the parameters. Make this uniform scale half. Translate. Negative 0.6. Negative. Yeah, negative, that looks good. Then make a triangle, change the division to 3. And we'll add a copy, change the copy to 3. And we'll add a geometry after that. Change the Y to 0.3 and uniform score 0.3. So it seems kind of weird, so I'm going to zero out the translate. Yeah. We'll add a line material. We'll change the width near to 2 and width far to 1. And we'll change this color. You can do any color you want, but I'm going to make it to this green brown. So 0.4, 0.4, and 0.1, and drag material onto the polygon and the triangle. So you can see you can make the line thicker by the width near, and then we'll change the uniform scale for the triangle here. And then we'll flip this rotate. So now we can start doing the audio. For the audio, I'll do a separate base next to it to keep everything cleaner. I'll call this base audio. We'll go inside and I'll split my panel so I can have the right, I can see the visuals. So I'll add a audio file in, and I will select the music I want. I'll add a null after this. And then you can hear the device in. So we'll have first make it to control the switch, so I'll bypass this for now. I'll add a spectrum chop and feed it in.
And I'll change the set length to manual and size 3096. So we want this section. And then we'll add a trim chop. So to see, we'll make a viewer active, make it to sample and high grid. And then the kick drum's about between 500 and 900. So I'll make an absolute start 500 and 900. So we got the section we want. Add an analyze chop, change it to maximum, and we'll combine these two channels with the math, and we will combine by average. We'll add a null after this, and then with this we'll add a logic chop. We'll just want the high bound, so it's about 0.5. We'll bound outside and borders to 0.5 and 1. So if we turn on the audio, you can see whenever it peaks, it hits 1, 0 to 1. We'll turn off the audio, bypass it, and then we'll add a math. The math, I'll change range to 0 to 6. Add a filter because right now it's just go to 0 to 6, but there's no 2 to 5. Change the filter width to 0.38. We'll rename this channel and call it flower switch. And we'll add merge and then a null because we'll add more channels to this. We can drag this into the switch, and now if we turn on the audio, see see that whenever it peaks, the flower blooms. So if we turn off the filter, it'll be kind of jarring, so you can see what the filter does. It goes straight to 0 to 6. So with the logic, it doesn't really bloom all the way. It kind of breaks up. You can better visualize this if we put a trail. So we'll put a trail without the logic. With logic, it makes it really clean, but there's no thing in between. So we'll add a filter, kind of gives a nicer curve. Okay. Next, we'll do a chop for the noise. We'll add a math, and we'll change parameters to 0 to 2. Afterwards, we'll put a filter. And then we'll make the filter width to 0.2. We'll rename this, and we can call it Noise Amp. Put it into the merge, and then we can drag it into the circle noise amplitude. Great. Next, we'll do the color for the polygon, the R, and so we'll just do math. We don't need a filter for this one. I'll put 0.3 and 0.8. We'll rename it to polycolor. Put it into the merge and drag it into the R. Cool, cool. And next we'll do the poly copy rotation. So we'll add another math. We'll do -60 to 60. And we'll add a lag this time. We'll do a lag rather than a filter, so it has more of a width effect. So I'll change to 0 to 0.8. And then we'll rename it to poly rotate. Put this into the merge, and then we can add it into the RY. And finally, last but not least, we'll do the scale for the triangle. We'll use another math chop, and we'll have it to be 0.2 to 2. We'll add a filter chop afterwards, and have the filter width to be 0.38. Add a rename, and call it tri-scale. Drag into the merge, and then can put it into the absolute scale in the copy SOP. And now you're pretty much done. You can turn on the audio, check everything works, and you're pretty much done. I want to make the triangle rotate using abs times dot frame times 0.2. And you're done. So that's how you can make this nice audio reactive 2D motion graphics with no keyframing, all in TouchDesigner. Thanks for watching.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you're serious about learning TouchDesigner and getting into our interactive and immersive industry, I highly recommend you check out the Interactive and Immersive HQ Pro. It's the only educational resource and community of its kind for TouchDesigner and interactive professionals. You can click the link in the description to learn more about that. And if you like this video, hit that like button. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the little bell icon for more awesome free content.